I'm going to talk about how to make your basic synth sounds more polished and richer. I'm going to show you 3 different approaches to do it. I'm going to do it with hardware outboard, I'm going to do it with built-in effects, and I'm going to do it in software with plugins. And the reason why I'm showing you 3 different approaches is that your tools that you have might be different, but there are many different ways to get the same effect. And it's not so much what you have, it's just how you use them. And it's a really simple approach. It just uses 2 effects, which is chorus and reverb in varying amounts depending on your song. So let's get to it. Now the basic concept is really simple, chorus and reverb. And I really find that adding chorus and reverb in varying amounts depending on the kind of song that you have and the kind of feel that you want really adds a certain richness and width to the productions. And I find that it's easier to mix with chorus and reverb because for chorus, what it does is it widens the sound and takes away space from the central imaging space, which I reserve normally for vocals and for drums. And of course, by chorus, I mean in the context here is stereo chorus. As you may or may not know, chorus is the effect where it takes the main original signal and it doubles it with a version of the signal that's slightly delayed and pitched so that you have 2 of the signals working together, but they're slightly different from each other. And if you pan them left and right, what happens is you get this really wide sense of space. Now the first approach is using outboard effects units, and the one that I use is the Strymon Mobius for the chorus and the Strymon Bigsky for the reverb. They're not cheap, and there are many alternatives to that for chorus and reverb, including the great high-value Zoom MS70 CDR and a host of others as well, so don't feel like you have to get these ones. Now let's start with a basic patch on the Minilogue, sort of like a multi-saw kind of thing. And this one's pretty straightforward. It's rich, but it's not particularly interesting. So let's see what the chorus can do. Let's turn it on. Immediately you can sense that this thing has gotten wider, feels a little bit richer, more harmonically interesting. And it's just turning on the chorus. So let's turn it off. Turn it on. What I like about choruses is that it keeps the characteristic of the original sound. It doesn't really change it very much, and especially at low rates where it doesn't go too warbly on you, it actually just sounds like a stereo widener. And that's just the chorus. So what if we add a reverb effect, right? I'm just gonna increase the send here to maybe 3/4. It's obviously a very big, sort of washy ambient reverb. This is the cloud algorithm on the Strymon Bigsky. So let's turn up the reverb to the max send. And you can see how obviously a great reverb helps to sort of give this space and width to the sound. Let's take out the chorus and just the reverb, right? Now it's got a lot of space, but I think that the width isn't quite there. So let's turn that on again. And reverb's a bit heavy, so let's turn that down. Yep. So you get this richness which contains the original characteristic of whatever patch that you're using, yet it feels so much more rich, so much wider. And that's what I really love. So I generally use this Mobius, keep it on all the time, and whenever I use the Minilogue, it's just turned on. Now the next one is built-in effects, and some synths have it, some synths don't. This is not exactly a synth. This is the Yamaha Reface CP. It's sort of like an electric piano. So let's hear the original sound. It's pretty straightforward. It's pleasant enough, but like I say, not much character. Let's turn on the chorus. Set it 50%. The rates I keep very low because I don't want much warbling. I just kind of want that slight difference between sort of the left and right channel. So the rate's really low. And if we turn it up, you get that warbly effect, which I don't really want. So a big part of this sound for me is keeping the rate low. Yep, and let's add some reverb, right? Let's give it a little bit of reverb. And although, you know, this one's a bit sort of ringy, hall-like reverb, let's turn it down a little bit and maybe increase the intensity on the chorus. So you get this movement. It's kind of moving really slowly, but it gives this sense of space. And there are synths that have built-in, say, like choruses, like the JU06A by Roland, which I have, but it's in the other studio. But this is just an example of having built-in effects that can help make the sound wider. Obviously, your famous Juno 106 has those two choruses that you can even stack together and gives you like a completely polished sound versus its bass sound, which is fairly boring. So this is the software plugin approach, and here I got Logic open and I'm using ES2 as the synthesizer, and I'm just using the user default pattern. It's rich, it's a little abrasive, and it's not particularly interesting or sort of polished, right? Sounds kind of buzzy, but it's pleasant enough, a lot of harmonic overtones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a chorus, which is from modulation chorus, right? It's already here. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to use a mega wide chorus preset. And I'm dialed down the intensity in the mix. Can kind of hear the difference without, with. It keeps the characteristic of the synth. And it sort of just makes it a little bit wider and not as in your face. And let's increase the mix a little bit and the intensity a little bit. And we go pretty wild. And you know, you have to mix depending on what sort of context your synth is playing. You can't just have sort of preset and just stick with it. But there's the idea, right? And let's add a space designer here. So we can go under reverb, space designer, and we use the wormhole one. And let's see how that sounds. It just sounds more polished, more sort of sitting in a space better. And it really does sound like it just sounds just richer. So you can turn down the wet and just give it a bit less. Yeah, it's just dial whatever you want to taste, and you have your own DAWs and you have your own sort of plugins, and I think just play around with your chorus and reverb plugins that almost every DAW will have and see what comes out of it. So I hope you found that interesting. It's just basically widening the sound with the chorus and adding a sense of space with the reverb. So simple and straightforward, but I find that sometimes the most simple and straightforward things help create the best sounds. And you can use any effect that you want, whether it's software, whether it's a cheap outboard, whether it's an expensive unit, or whether it's just the built-in stuff that your synth has. So don't limit yourself. I always find that the more knowledge you have, the better you get at putting your sounds and songs together. And I hope you create something that you really enjoy and that other people really enjoy as well. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you like these videos, please subscribe for more. See ya.